29. Bill. I woke up in bed in my nightclothes to a sunbeam directly across my face. I squinted and felt my whole body ache. My ankle was stinging in pain, reminding me of its damage by a steady dropping in tune with my heartbeat. I tried to pull myself upright. What had happened? I had time to slip away from me again. I reached up to run my fingers through my hair and felt some fabric on my forehead. I touched it and flinched. A bandage on my head? Have I fallen down at some point? There was a light tapping on my door. Yes? I called out, still hasty and disoriented. Sir, there's a young lady to see you. I tried to send her away, but she's rather insistent. Yes, please send her away. Thank you, Anna, I said, leaning against my headboard. Then, wait! What's her name? It's a Miss Constance Gray. Everything came flying back to me. Then, in such a rush, I turned quickly to the side of my bed, bent over, and drew up. I stared at the puddle of vomit, flashed out to the inky one from the night before, the remains of brown now, and thinking nothing, I fell back onto my bed, with the taste of sick in my mouth and the pain in my head dropping. Mr. Chambers, tell her I'll be down momentarily. I need to freshen up. Yes, sir. What was she doing here? How she had found me? I felt fear wash over me again, and remembered that I needed to run away from it. I ran away from everything. I remember my father's study, the crystal decanters, the wall. I lay and touched my forehead. What a mad thing to do! Yet it had worked, a dreamless sleep, passing almost too quickly. One night was not enough. I needed to sleep for days, for months. Constance who had held Brand by the hand, who witnessed his explosion, too. She was downstairs, likely seeking sore sense and comfort after what had been through. It didn't stir my fear, but it didn't motivate me to throw the covers of my bed in one swoop, and to finally rise to the standings, in the pool of my own vomit. Wonderful. Constance! I said a little too loudly as I entered the sitting room. Partly I was trying to hide my level of discomfort, partly it was the discovery that she wasn't alone. My father, of all people, was keeping her company, sitting in a large dark red swing chair, while she was very daintily sipping a glass of water on the sofa by the window. What happened to your head? He said immediately. Well, that's answered the question. My mysterious nurse had been Anna then. What would happen father at all? I thought to myself, feeling a little stupid. I had considered it. I'm fine, I replied as Constance stood and took her hand. Constance, it's lovely to see you. She nodded. You too. For all we had been through the night before, she seemed quite, well, normal, for want of a better word. Her hair was perfectly curled, her jacket and dress plain but neat and clean, not a trace of ink anywhere on her person. Father, may we have some privacy? I asked it, not sure if he had given it to us. He sat for a moment and then finally stood. Of course, lovely to see you again, Miss Gray. He turned to me as he passed and said non-normally quietly, She's lovely and very pretty. Have your fun with her, but she's not the one. I wanted to run away. What a thing to say. That's credibly rude of you, said Constance. I gazed at my father, whose face had turned red. I turned to look at Constance, who had put her hand over her mouth, her eyes wide and shocked. I'm so sorry, sir, she said. What do you think you are? Asked my father. I felt rooted to the spot, unable to think or do anything. I'm so sorry, she said again. Get out of my house, he ordered it. Pointing hard at the front door, Constance nodded and stood immediately, keeping her eyes lower as she passed me and my father. I know of your sisters, girl. I've seen them out of town with a different suitor every night. You're just like them, aren't you, trying to lure some rich man to marry you? Constance said nothing, but I saw her hand trembling as she reached out for the doorknob. Then there's you, on the diving platform in your bathing costume in front of the hundreds. Not modesty, no shame. She turned around and stared down at my father. Then, What do we call the man who hired her?" She turned and drew the open door and stormed out of the house. "If I ever see you in my home again," told my father after her through the open door, then slammed it behind him. His rage was absolute, but there was nothing in it that felt weak, small, especially compared with Constance. Hers had the strange power behind it I ever seen before. Meanwhile, all I was feeling was a great shame. I was feeling more than enough shame for everyone in the room. In the whole street, I stared at the formidable door in front of me as I heard my father storm off into his study. And then I found I couldn't move again. It was my turn to fling the door open. "Constance!" I ran down the walk and turned to catch up to her running down the street. She was fast. I reached out to grab her shoulder, but she stopped short and turned. Her face was fire. "How dare he? I saved him in this little film. How dare he talk like that about the person? Any person." She made to move past me back toward the house, but I blocked her. Now I was no longer scared for myself, but for her. "He was wrong. Everything he said was wrong, and you were right. But you cannot confront him. You don't understand how dangerous he can be." Her eyes were wild. He paced in front of me like a caged animal. "After everything we've been through, I'm not scared of a man like him anymore," she said. I didn't know what to say to that, but I did know we need to talk. We need to talk about everything. "Come with me," I said. "There's a small park around the corner where we can talk." She looked at me, still sitting, and then, finally, nodded. I leaned her down the street, around the corner to the park. It was small, really just a plot of land. Not big enough for a home in this neighborhood, but it had a fine oak tree and a nice little white painted bench under it. It all looked a little bar at this time of year, but it was nice enough to place to discuss monsters in the dark. "How are you?" I asked it as we sat. "I'm fine," she replied, looking down and playing with the elusive thread of her coat. "Oh, not like that. How are you?" She didn't say anything. I realized then I need to take I could share with her for some reason, just like I shared the machine with her in the first place. I still trusted her that way. "I'm not well," I admitted. I'm scared through and through. I don't understand what happened. It's like it was a nightmare." "But it wasn't," she said quietly. "No." We sat for a moment as a cold breeze blew through the oak tree, its arms craning in the wind, its fingers reaching out for something intangible. "Are you sad?" asked Constance then. "Sad?" "About Brent. I think I feel sad about it, but I mostly feel very angry. I also didn't know him very well, so maybe that's why." She stopped and closed her eyes and then opened them and looked at me. They were so blue. I couldn't find any comparison to describe how blue they were. They were just so very blue. I think I'm a bad person." "You're not," I said instinctively. Grabbing her hands, she let me take them. "We need to talk to someone," said. "Maybe one of those gen people. They need to know something down there. They need to know about the ink." I shook my head, and I felt fear rising in my throat again. "Absolutely not." "Bill!" "Absolutely not, Constance. Whoever it is, Jen knows about it. Otherwise, why is it locked up? And the ink that came from the inside their machine. Jen knows everything." "Then we have to stop them. We had to before someone else." Again I shook my head. Didn't she understand that this was not how it worked? She hadn't lived in my world. Any company that could afford such a machine, that could hide it, that such a dark, huge secrets that had to be protected by something huge as well, is too dangerous, I said. And Dad, she laughed. "More dangerous than last night? I want to do this, Bill. I need to do this." "And does it matter what I want?" I asked her. "What do you want, Bill?" She was looking at me now with that fierceness from before. It was something I found so attractive about her yesterday. But now I was seeing the dark side of it, the side that she spoke to, unpredictable behavior. I couldn't handle it. That I want to forget anything of it happened. I want to move on, and I agree that we will take the secret to our graves. Constance looked at me for a moment. I couldn't tell what she was thinking, but I could tell there was a whirlwind swirling inside her. "I heard you, Bill," she said, surprisingly calm, ending the long silence. Let's move on. We can't allow one night to consume us forever. She was quiet then, and still. I squeezed her hand, and she didn't squeeze it back. Instead, she let go and sighed gently. I watched as she stood up slowly, smoothing the front of her coat, and then reaching behind her to make sure it filled down her back properly. All of it seems unconscious habit, but the small things we do every day. I should go. And she left without saying goodbye or even turning to look at me. I watched as she went, no longer a whirl of fury, and something else, something that concerned me even more, something more contained and focused, like a bullet. The fear returned it. There was no way she was going to move on, in a lie, to make me feel better, I suppose. But it was still a lie, and I have no idea what she was going to do next.